The final pre-season friendly is here for Leeds United, and the most important thing about this is it will tell us a lot about the coming season. But it's not just going to be in the form of Bryn Law telling you over the commentary, yeah, well, you see, us playing like that means X, Y, or Z for the season. No, you need to know exactly what to look for. So in this video, I am going to tell you 5 things you need to watch in the Leeds United versus Valencia match on Saturday at 3 p.m. at Elland Road. Hopefully some of you are there. Hope you have a great time. Just to let you know, I'm trying this as a slightly new format, going into game day, sort of discussing some of the most important things that we should be looking out for and what it ultimately means. And I hope you enjoy and give me a little bit of feedback. And I hope you enjoy the match too. I very likely can't watch the entire match myself because I'm on the charity walk starting at 3 p.m. Poor planning on my part. But you might be able to see me on Just Joe's post-match because I'll try and catch whatever I can whilst I'm walking. So, first thing that we need to look for in this whole shebang is going to be the lineup that Leeds United pick. And it is an hour ahead of the match, the very first thing that we will see. And I think it is going to be very indicative of the coming weeks. Because at the moment, we'll have prepared for this match in the same way that we will have prepared for the first league match of the season. We will have viewed this as basically, okay, match day 1 is against Portsmouth. We'll call this match day 0. It's the prequel to this season, and really there's no point preparing anything that you're not going to be using. So the first 11 will look a lot like the one against Portsmouth. And it means that we've got a bunch of questions that we're going to need to answer. So left centre-back, is it going to be Vuba or Strauch? Is it going to be both of them? Who knows? We're picking Mateo Joseph as the 9 or Joel Piroux. Is Piroux maybe playing in the 10 instead? Is Aaronson going to start, or are we going to play in a slightly different system with James and Nonto and Ruter in a 3? It's very, very complex. But on the subject of Brenden Aaronson potentially starting, I think he's the second thing that we definitely need to keep an eye on. Because in my opinion, Brenden Aaronson definitely gets minutes here. The American, last time he was at Elland Road, admittedly, we got relegated, and he didn't really do the best. He came off the bench in the match against Spurs and didn't really do much. And we've got to remember that last time he was at Leeds, he got 9 shots on target throughout the entire season. A statistic that I think he's genuinely getting close to in pre-season alone right now. So I think not only does he get minutes, but he'll be given the opportunity to have a proper impact, especially if he's going to be playing a fair bit this season, which I honestly think he will. And some of the questions that we'll need to ask ourselves and we'll need to keep an eye on are, is he a little bit more physical? Is he more willing to engage with other players? And how exactly does he play in a non-Marsh system? We know he's really good in those narrow roles, sort of. He's Brenden Aaronson in those narrow roles. But if he's given the license to go wide, how does that work? Or how does he work with someone that's on the overlap? Because Marsh didn't really use those. He tended to play very thin. So I feel like having Aaronson be able to work with someone that's playing in a wider position will be absolutely essential and very indicative of how we're going to do this season. This season, when we're likely to play a lot of sides that are weaker than us, but there will be times where we look like the weaker team. And for me, it's a good question of how exactly do we match up against strong sides? Because as much as La Liga isn't the same level as the Premier League, there is still a lot of ability and talent in there. And Valencia are a very genuinely good football side. I had a quick look at their 23-24 lineups, and it includes Giorgio Mamardashvili, who is the Georgian goalkeeper, who is absolutely incredible. It includes Hugo Duro, who is a 23-year-old Spanish striker, 13 goals last season. Christian Mosquera, who is a young Spanish centre-back who is incredible, very reliable. And they ended up coming 9th in La Liga because they're a genuinely very solid side who conceded just 1 goal more than Barcelona last season, conceding 45 in 38 league matches. That's a very strong record, especially when you look at who else is in that league, especially when you're against forwards constantly like your Rafinhas, like your Lewandowskis, like Bellingham, like Vinicius Jr. Lots of high-quality players in that division. And they only conceded 45 goals across the season, which means that we're going to have very interesting sort of one-on-one dynamics between our side and their side. So, for example, Joseph versus Mamardashvili. How does Mateo Joseph do against a genuinely, properly world-class goalkeeper? Is he able to make that impact? Same applies for Piroux. Hugo Duro, very, very creative attacking player. how does he do against our back line? Are we able to hold up against it, or is it something that we sort of lead to crumbling under the pressure? Playing against better sides in pre-season is how you find the weaknesses in your squad, and I think that is going to be key in this match. Also key in this match is finding out just how strong our bench is, because you're going to find out the weaknesses in the squad, and that includes the bench, because last season we know we had depth issues. We ended up not making subs until as late as possible in a hell of a lot of games. Led to very, very few subs, and sometimes we just wouldn't make any changes, which was a shame, but you'd look at the bench and go, yeah, but I don't genuinely think Jan Paveda can make a difference here, and he wouldn't, because he's not that great. But I think we've got a slightly deeper squad this season at the moment, and the question, in my opinion, is the bench strong enough to sustain our side for a full 90 minutes with substitutions when and where they are needed? Now, you're going to have to remember that this is still going to be a friendly match. So yeah, you're going to have a lot of subs, and if there is any doubt about the fitness of any of your players, you make a change. But looking at that bench at the very start of the game, are you in a situation where you think any single player from that first 11 can be taken out and replaced with not that much of an impact on the way that we perform? And you've got to go from the back to the front. At the back, I'm a little bit worried about the depth. In midfield, I think we're okay, but there's still a little bit of a worry there. And up top, I think we're genuinely fine for depth. But looking at every single position, do we look ready? Is the important question, in my opinion. But the most important question, the one to watch, is what is our formation going to be? What style of play are we going to be committing to here? Do we use that three-back system with the wing-backs happy to bomb on and one of those centre-backs pushing into midfield at any one time, leaving two at the back, and a very aggressive system with Bogle and Firpo just making a mess? Or do we go with the four-back, where you've got that defensive line of four, Firpo, Bogle, two centre-backs with two midfielders in front of them, and you just let the four players in front do their thing with the occasional wing-back? Stylistically, Valencia fairly close to Portsmouth, because whilst they conceded 45 last season, they only scored 40, and in terms of possession, comfortably less than 50%, relatively consistently. I can see if I can find an average, but I'm afraid I cannot, which is a little bit of a shame. But they didn't hold possession that much, to be honest, and that is completely fine. That's their style of play, but it's somewhat similar to Portsmouth, so we can read into how we would play against Portsmouth based on this, and we can sort of get some idea of what we can expect next Saturday from this Saturday, which should be good. I'm really optimistic. And finally, I just wanted to go through a little bit of the reason that I'm not going to be watching the match, because some of you might be here for the first time, some of you might be long-term viewers, but basically the reason that I'm not going to be here is because I'm on a charity walk, and the reason the charity walk is so important, and I did a lot of research into this stat to make sure it's correct, approximately 4,119 people who watched my videos in the last month will at some point be diagnosed with prostate cancer. It's a big number. It's a fucking scary number. Don't get me. And the thing with that is, if it is treated, it is very treatable. The survival rate of prostate cancer is fantastic, but in the event that it isn't treated, it can cause big problems, and that happens with the help of certain organisations. Organisations such as Prostate Cancer UK are able to help people that wouldn't otherwise get treatment to be treated and have that chance going forwards. So at 3 p.m. tomorrow, I'm going to walk the entire width of the North Yorkshire malls with a couple of other people, because you don't want to do these walks on your own, because that would be hell, in 24 hours for Prostate Cancer UK. 42 miles in 24 hours. It's also a nice little symmetry. It's in memory of my granddad, who had prostate cancer but got through it because of Prostate Cancer UK. Sadly passed away last November, but I'm doing this as a sort of continuation of who he was and his legacy. So I would hugely appreciate if you could donate if you can, or share the link around to friends or family or colleagues. If you're not able to donate, that is completely fine. I understand it's a tough time right now, but the link is down below. I'd hugely appreciate, at the very least, you sharing it. That'd be fantastic, because the only way that we beat this illness is together, and by researching and by donating to organisations that make that difference, like Prostate Cancer UK, because that 4,119 people will need help, and organisations like Prostate Cancer UK help us to work together to solve the problem. And I'd love your help in that working together process. So I'm going to end the video by saying, let's have a win, shall we? Both in the Valencia match and in the prostate cancer conversation. And I'm sorry if you can hear next door's dogs. They've not stopped barking for quite some time. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, pop a like on it, subscribe. You can even become a channel member for 99p a month, and all of that right now is going to Prostate Cancer UK until the start of the season. Hope you enjoyed, and I will be seeing you later. Ta-ra. Let's start the season right, shall we?